In 40 years of doing this job, people always want to say, why are you so emotional and when you testify? Why are you so emotional on network? Because if they wore my shoes for 40 years, they'd understand why I'm emotional. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by the cartel members. And when you get to your knees and you talk to that little girl and everything innocent and pure has been ripped from her, when you listen to the Laken Riley, 17 minutes, that young lady fighting for her life, don't just think, okay, a young woman died. Think of how she died, the terror that she went through, and these children that are sexually assaulted. I stood in back of a tractor trailer and 19 dead people at my feet that baked to death. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. And so every sick person we take off the streets, especially child rapists, it makes this country much safer. Every illegal alien we arrest, public safety threat, one at a time, makes this country safer.
President Trump was elected, came down the escalator 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in June for one reason only, to get illegal aliens out of this country. By the way, they're not immigrants, because immigrants, like my wife, the lovely and beautiful Tanya Tay, come to a country following a legal process. That's what an immigrant is. You can't call someone an illegal immigrant because that's not an immigrant. You're an alien. You're a foreign citizen, someone who has broken the laws of our country to be here. And in fact, I love this idea from Still Boneless. Go ahead, folks. What we're going to be doing is we're going to start the nationwide leaderboards for your community. We maybe, I don't know, break it down by state. We'll see. It's like, my kid's school does a fundraiser. You got to, who's raised the most money in the school? Well, it'll be just like that. How many, and by the way, it's not just based on reports. How many people did you actually get deported? So remember, that phone number again, folks, is 866-DHS2ICE. 866-DHS2ICE. And remember to check out ICE.gov, ladies and gentlemen. Go and find your legal aliens. Report them wherever they are. Folks, report them, deport them. Report them, deport them. 866-DHS2ICE, ICE.gov. Kenny Cody, this is the kind of thing that I really think that people go off on these different side quests, to use video game parlance. There's so many side quests out there, but I keep telling people trade and immigration are the two issues, along with foreign policy, that really built the MAGA movement. Isn't that right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm talking about in my piece. These topics landed with the younger generations. And I know that the mainstream media, cultural Marxists, those on college campuses always wanted to say, well, these are just too mean. We need to be nice to everybody. Everybody needs to get along. No, like this new generation of young conservatives are conservatives because of these policies, because of tariffs, because of our American first foreign policy concentration, and because of mass deportation, where these people are going to be able to get the jobs that they want and build the companies that are going to prioritize on employing Americans first, because of these policies being prioritized through a nationalist, populist mindset that Donald Trump ran on 10 years ago, like you said, to this year, back in 2015. These policies are the reasons that the Republican Party and the GOP are having the gains. And remember, they are not Republicans for the sake of being Republicans. They're Republicans because of the new priority issues that the Republican Party has adopted because of President Trump, because of his campaign, and because of the MAGA movement. These people would have been Democrats 10 or 15 years ago, and I don't think anybody is denying that. But they are going on these college campuses, and they're being indoctrinated by their professors, by the clubs that they want to participate in, by sports, by any means necessary. They're trying to be indoctrinated, and this rejection mindset of adopting, saying, hey, we want an open border. Hey, we want to trans kids. Hey, we want to concentrate on, on the minutes of society and the smallest bits of population in society and cater to them instead of the modern everyday American. And conservatives and young conservatives are beginning to realize that. They are beginning to prioritize tariffs on trade policy, mass deportations on illegal alien policy, and in terms of foreign policy, concentrating on not seeing young men and women and children to die overseas for the military-industrial complex. And these three issues are why we are more attractive attractive as a movement, the Republican Party is more attractive as a party, and the conservative movement is more attractive as a movement overall in 2025 than it ever has been before in American history. And it's because of the priorities that President Trump, Tom Homan, and others are prioritizing in the White House.
There you go, folks. And people can say this till people need to internalize this. President Trump is popular, and his policies are even more popular. Why? Because these are issues that people support way more than his approval rating. And that's the entire point, right? Sometimes you need a guy who's going to come in and just clean things up. And you don't want someone who's going to come in and be nice for that type of operation.